I'm from Brazil, from the state of São Paulo. I work for the University of São Paulo. I'm a professor there. I do research, teaching, and extension. And I work primarily with nutrition and management of beef and dairy cattle. I work with grazing and confined systems. The technology we have today, there is no problem with stocking and finishing cattle. We can do that, no problem. The big limitation for beef production is calf production. That's the big limitation we have. You know, we have technology today for temperate and tropical areas to stock a lot of cattle, to grow cattle, to finish cattle. But in Brazil, what is happening right now is, I'm going to show them our beef herd has increased. We more than doubled our herd for the last 4 years. And I think we have reached our plateau right now, 211 million heads. It's the largest commercial beef herd in the world. We have a huge herd, but we are not the largest beef producer. The US produces more beef than we do with 9 million cattle. So we are big, but we are not very efficient yet. We can improve the stocking rate, we can improve animal performance, and even in a already intense grazing system, managed in the old way, fixed grazing interval, we can increase up to 50% the amount of beef produced per area just by fine-tuning our grazing system. It's a real pleasure for me and an honor to be here. I'd like to thank the FFGA for this opportunity. And I'd like also to apologize for my English. You know, I spent 4.5 years in Tucson, Arizona. A lot of Brazilian guys and Mexican guys there. So my Portuguese got worse. I didn't learn Spanish, and I never got a good English. So that's what happened. We're going to discuss how to get the maximum we can from our land to produce beef in our grazing systems. Of course, it's a very different situation than what you have here in Canada in terms of weather, climate, soil, but there are concepts that apply anywhere. Is this pasture good or not?
No.
No? Depends. During the dry season, it's paradise. But we're going to talk about that. Grazing on tropical pastures imposes limitations to performance. The best we can get for the whole rainy season, 6 to 7 months a year, is 1.3 to 1.8 pounds a day. It's much less than genetic potential of any cattle, Zebu or European breeds. And why is that? Because cattle are not able to consume the amount of nutrient they need to express their genetic potential. I can do my best in terms of management of tropical grass. They will still perform much below their genetic potential. And because they also spend a lot of energy grazing, 6-7 hours a day in a very good pasture. And they spend energy doing that. How can I overcome this limitation or partially overcome this? I can improve pasture management, as we're going to discuss right now, and I can supplement cattle, even in very intensive grazing system. And I'm going to tell you, I make more money supplementing cattle in our high stock system than in a low input system. And I'm going to show you why. When you supplement cattle in tropical grasses, you cannot look only at the difference in performance, but you need to look at the effect on stocking rate. And you can have to put both together. Higher gain, more animals per area. And that will allow you to double your beef production with a small amount of grain in a highly stocked pasture. This is the first grazing cycle, just November. You just start, the rain is back, we fertilize the pasture, the first grazing cycle. 15 years ago, I would say, this is beautiful, it's perfect. Right now, I look at that, I say, I'm going to lose a lot of forage here. It's far beyond the ideal point to be grazing. What is far beyond? For us, far. 5 days later, maybe that. They grow so fast that 5 days later, make a huge difference for cattle and for my pocket. I'm going to show you that. The second grazing cycle. Looks nice. Nice picture. We are starting to lose the control of this pasture. You start seeing reproductive tillers coming. You can see here, seeds are coming. Third grazing cycle. You know what he's telling you? He's looking at you and saying, I cannot be an efficient grazer if you offer me this pasture. You say, it's a beautiful pasture. What are you complaining? Okay? Come on. When you talk about forage intake, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? What's very good to have a high forage intake? The first thing you think? Quantity. Okay. Second? Quality. You are worried about protein, fiber, digestibility. That's right. You forgot one thing. Very important. As the center of our discussion today. Before the forage reaches the rumen and the protein, the fiber, the lignin matters, the animal has to harvest the forage. The harvesting process is the first process, and it's very important. And this machine here was not made to be efficient in this pasture. Why? Because the structure of this sward, this canopy, is not ideal for the harvesting process. That's the point today we are discussing there. We are going to discuss here with you. And you lost control. It's the fourth grazing cycle. We are still in the middle of our grazing period, the spring, summer time. And we already lost the control. All the tillers became reproductive one, and they cannot graze this down efficiently. We are going to lose a lot of forage, and this cattle is going to spend maybe 1 hour and a half more per day grazing, and it's going to harvest less forage. If I had put him in the paddock a couple days earlier, as I'm going to show you. Spend more time grazing, and it's going to harvest less forage. Fixed grazing intervals. Fixed grazing interval does not take into account plant physiology. This grass understands temperature, water, light, and nutrients, not fixed grazing intervals. If it rains more, if I put more nitrogen, if the temperature is higher, it's going to grow faster. 21 days doesn't mean anything for this grass sometimes. Maybe good, maybe too much, maybe not enough. And I'm going to lose. And I put a lot of money there. I'm fertilizing this pasture with a lot of nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, and everything. The forage harvesting process is going to be compromised by sward structure. That's what we're going to discuss with you right now. And cattle will expend more time grazing and will harvest less forage with lower quality. But before we are worried with the quality, before the forage reaches the rumen, it has to be harvested. And we have to create a situation, a condition, to make it easier for cattle. And we can do that the way we manage that pasture. Either temperate grasses or tropical grasses. More critical for us because the grasses grow faster and they change their structure faster than temperate grasses. We are always thinking about protein, fiber, lignin, digestibility. We don't worry about the structure. Oh, it's good. A lot of forage there. Look at that pasture. It's beautiful. We know nothing about that. We never ask the cattle, what's the ideal condition for you to graze that? We need to look at that because this is not the ideal condition. How to determine the start grazing point that it's ideal? What's the criteria for that? We need to change our way to look at that. So, Dr. Da Silva, the guy that I told you that is a specialist there in forage management in our department, he went to New Zealand looking for the answer for this problem we were having there in Brazil. in our intensive systems. And when he came back, he said, I'm going to test what I was doing, what I learned there with temperate grasses, and see how it works with tropical grasses. And it worked the same. He got the same results they were getting there in New Zealand with temperate grass, with high grass. As the grass is grazed, it starts the regrowth process based on what? New leaves and expansion of these new leaves. And at the beginning, there is plenty of light for its growth. It's intercepting about 40% of the sunlight. 60% is reaching the ground and lost. Then it increases the leaf area index and intercepts more and more light. It's fine. There is plenty of light for all the leaves, all the tillers. But when the sward is able to intercept 95% of the sunlight, only 5% is going to reach the ground and be lost. We are going to see a big change. We're going to see senescence to start to increase fast. Why? Because of a shortage of light for the bottom portion of the sward. How does the plant respond to that? Trying to help those leaves and the bottom portion that are going to die, it will stimulate stem elongation. And this is very aggressive in tropical grasses. And you're going to see this, stem elongation, trying to open the sward and put the leaves there where they can get light. All we're going to get after this point is an increase in senescent material, stem, no difference in green leaves, the proportion of the sward. And the structure is going to be worse. This is the ideal one for this grass. This is what a cattle wants. He comes here and he can graze this really very efficiently. This is the 95% light interception point. You look at this, only green leaves. Where are the stems? Where is the dead material? You can see that. And what's going to happen? You're going to see, when I show you, the cattle is going to come here. He will stop here. Like a machine, he's going to start harvesting this forage, small bites, a lot of bites per minute, very fast. Then he stop and swallow that very easily because it's only green leaves. That's why your cattle want to graze. Green leaves, they don't want to stand. They don't like them. They don't want that material. They do everything to avoid that. Then it's going to be very fast and swallow easily. But 5 days later, 4 days later, 10 days later, you're going to see this. You look at that and say, hey, this is great. A lot of green material here. But look at this. Look at this. You change completely the situation for this animal. What you're going to see here, he comes to the sward, he gets into there, and he starts doing this movement with this head. Why? He's not happy. He's looking for the better spots, trying to avoid stem and that material. Start doing this. He's selecting much more than the other. The other just start doing this. Swallow. Then he does that, swallow, one step ahead. Pa, 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 swallow, one step ahead. This guy is unhappy with that. He goes there, look for the best. He does a large bite because he can go deeper in the sward. Large bite. He wastes time manipulating that because he has some stain there. It's more difficult to swallow. He's going to waste time doing that. He's going to move around. Again, one step ahead. He's going to walk much more. He's going to spend more time grazing. 1 hour, 1 hour and a half more than under this condition. What is the 10-inch start grazing point? It's the 95% interception, light interception. This is the ideal point, 10 inches high. This is 14 inches high. Maybe 5 days later, 1 week later, sometimes. More forage mass. Forage mass, pounds of dry matter per acre. Okay, you increase the amount. You say, I have more forage there, more cattle. No. Look at that. Leaves, green leaves. 3,000, 2,943. No difference, no statistical difference. You didn't increase green leaves. All you got in this kind of forage was more dead material. And the tall grasses we have in Brazil, we have tall grass too. It's going to be different. What's going to increase a lot is stems. Not too much dead material for the tall grasses. When we go beyond the ideal point to be grazed. So all we did here was to create a sward structure that's going to make more difficult for cattle to harvest these green leaves because it's going to be mixed with a lot of dead material and stems. We create a sward structure that's less dense, more open, and more difficult for them to harvest that efficiently. Start grazing point 10 inches high, stop grazing point 6 inches high. Other treatment 14, start grazing point. This is the 9.5 light interception for this grass. This is more than that, almost 99. With the same post grazing height. Average daily gain, greater here. Stocking rate, greater here. Why? I increase the stocking rate. They eat more and they waste less forage to the ground, back to the ground. I can put more cattle there, and we increased body weight gain in pounds per acre during spring, summer time, and 55% just by fine-tuning our management. Zero cost. This is zero cost. Both pastures were fertilized, same cost, everything is the same. We're just improving our management practice.